Got it. Hello and welcome, everyone. Welcome to another Solution Sunday, because the soul is the solution. We are here this morning with my good friend, Bridget Hinman. Bridget is the owner, proprietor, creator of Unicorn Square in Wilmington, New York. Unicorn Square is one of the most magical places on the planet. And we're going to talk to Bridget about how she creates magic and how all of us can create our own magic. Bridget, welcome to Solution Sunday.
I'm so excited. I love your program so much, Lisa, and I love our visit so much. So thank you very, from the bottom of my heart. I'm very excited to be here.
Yay, I'm excited to have you here. And we see some of your shop in the background, so maybe we'll be able to show people around your shop later. And
oh, you're so sweet.
Right?
Yeah.
Unicorn Square. I discovered Unicorn Square about a year ago. Year and a half. Yeah, just
maybe a little bit longer. Yeah, it seems like, oh, how fun.
Yeah, and I just remember somebody said, hey, do you know about Unicorn Square? I'm like, no, where is this place? And then we went and I fell in love instantly with Bridget and her beautiful store. It is absolutely magical. And I've never met anybody that is so adept at creating magic. So Bridget, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you end up creating magic as your profession?
Well, it's a really interesting and fun road. It's been a journey. I can tell you that, just to bring the magic back in and be like, no, this is the direction. And it's such a awesome blessing to be able to do what you love and share some fun joy. And so I grew up, actually, my mom taught me how to sew and do all kinds of creating. And my dad is an awesome artist himself with his magical creature sketch artist, I call him. And so my family was always very creative, and we always spent time in the woods growing up and using our imagination. And it was really cool, a lot of camping. And then in my adult life, I tried to go down the business career mode, but I loved it, and it was really fun, and it took me a lot of places, but it always just kind of, I don't know, wasn't my jam for
I hear you there, sister.
Yeah. It was kind of fun. And so I left. I was working actually at the mountain here in at Whiteface Mountain for years, and then decided I needed another adventure. Tried to go to New York City, and then was not a city mouse. And then by accident, I ended up in Hawaii to rabbit sit, and decided to stay. My first morning I woke up, I looked out my window and I cannot see far away. And I didn't have my glasses on, but I looked out my window and I thought there were unicorns in my yard. I was like, what kind of magical place did I just wake up in? There's a unicorn in my yard. I can't even believe it. And I still have that photograph hanging in my shop. And I started dabbling with just where I lived. It just really brought the magic forefront. It was so surreal and beautiful. And I started calling it the unicorn pasture. But having come over from New York, Times Square was the happening place for everybody to meet. And I decided to call it Unicorn Square, which is the little town square, the Times Square for all magical creatures to meet up. And it was really magical. I discovered a lot about myself. I discovered this entire world during that time. A lot of meditating in the unicorn pasture, coming up with my stories and getting messages. And the one that always came through was "We believe in you," which at first I was like, well, this is a really interesting reflection of "we believe in you," because we're always thinking that we believe in fairies, as humans. We believe in fairies, we believe in this, but it was kind of a switch of them believing in us. And that was just that was the very first message that I had gotten. And I like to share it, of saying it's okay, if it's all right if people can believe in whatever they do want and choose to believe in, but that doesn't change the fact that the fairies believe in humans. And that message keeps evolving for me, to share it more and more. And it's been super fun. I consider myself a fairy liaison, which is really fun. And that's my self-given title, because I'm a human in this moment. And so I don't pretend to be a fairy. The fairies I hang out with are very practical, and they're kind of tricksters, and they're really fun. And so I like to consider myself the fairy liaison, to pass along their messages and bring back the magic and the messages from the fairies, that they believe in us, which is so awesome and so powerful.
It is,
Yeah.
we've just been taught that, fairies are just things in fairy tales, that it's just stories. So we simply set our mind to, well, they're not real.
Mhm.
But we can't see them if we don't look for them. If we don't believe that they're there, we will never see them. And just because we have been taught that they're not real doesn't make them not real. So I love the fact that you are the fairy liaison to help people start to recognize, or at least give them the opportunity to recognize, that there are many beings on this planet that are not in physical form. But just because they're not in physical form doesn't mean that they don't exist.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. And even for the unicorns, that I tell the children and grown-ups too, that unicorns are everywhere, but they're super sensitive beings. And they were on this plane of existence at one time. And you can see it every single culture in the world, for the most part. Like separate countries have histories of unicorns in ancient texts. For these, and dragons, and for these images, and even fairies for that matter, for these images to stand the test of time, like they at one point they were here. So the story with the unicorns is that they're super sensitive, and the human world got really loud, and they kind of just stepped away into nature, until a time when it kind of quiets a little bit, and more people start to believe in their magic. I definitely believe they'll make a reappearance. I believe that to be true. And so, yeah, it's all of these beings are helping. And even if we look at it from the standpoint of our houseplants, we help our houseplants along so that they can thrive. And to think that there aren't helpers that is helping Mother Nature along so that she can thrive it definitely just makes sense to me that that's what's happening. Yeah. So they're the helpers, and it's fun because I get messages from them, and they are very practical and they're really fun. And I do a lot of work Dolores Cannon's work with the QHHT, right? And there's a woman in Saranac Lake, Autumn Sereno, who I've done a couple of sessions with, specifically for questions for my fairies, just to get some clarity on some of the messages. And it's awesome. Like, I've got massive information from the fairies, which has been fun, in addition to what I already had been downloading. But most of them are like, we're holding it down. They're like, we're holding it down. And they're not huge fans of the super fancy fairies that you see in Disney, for instance. They're just like, we've got a lot of work to do. We're busy. We got a lot of stuff going down. We're holding it down on the planet. If you really want to help, pick up some rubbish, say kind things to the earth, and so they're really practical, and it's been really fun to get information and bring that to the forefront.
Exactly. It's really, this summer I had a really lovely experience over at the VIC, the Visitor Interpretive Center, where we can walk through nature on different paths. And there's a little bog, and there's like a little boardwalk that goes through the bog, and there's some places where you can sit. And one day I decided I wanted to talk to the fairies. I wanted to have a communication. So I remember my friend Keith Leon, who's on here with us today.
Aloha, Keith.
Said, you know, if you want to see the fairies, squint your eyes just so they're barely open, and just look, and, you know, just wait and see. So I sat there and I squinted my eyes so they were just barely open. And I just sat for a little while, and all of a sudden, as I was sitting, the entire landscape changed, and I saw a completely different realm. It
Awesome.
was total different landscape. And even though it was a beautiful blue sky, the landscape that I saw was really cloudy and gray. And so I said, that's kind of odd. And so I just started to ask. I said, why is it all cloudy? And the message that I got was that as long as there's war on the surface, as long as humans are waging war, their sun can't shine. Oof. Because we are creating this disturbance on the planet, and we are disturbing all the other realms on this planet. So the message that I got was that it's time to clean it up. Yeah. It's like time to stop, time to recreate peace, time to work with all the different realms. Because when we start to look at peace on earth, is literally a possibility. You know,
for sure.
Equally as easy to create peace on earth as it is to create war on earth, except we're just focused on war, right? So it's like, oh, let's go do that. Well, if we don't do that, if we actually started looking at creating peace on this planet, look at all the beings who actually want peace on this planet. All of the plants, all of the animals, all of the fish, all of the fairies, all of the extraterrestrial beings, the ones that we don't see that live, you know, either under the ground or above the surface, that are not in physical form necessarily. All the beings in the universe that live in this part of the galaxy, where the galaxy is disturbed by having war on Earth, there are far more people and beings that would like to have peace on Earth than there are who want to be waging war. And if we start all working together, we can turn this around in a heartbeat.
In a heartbeat. Yeah. It like a snap of the finger. Yeah. Right. And I totally agree with that. And even along the lines of, like, when I did Unicorn Square, it said the initials are us, right? and I always think about it and I go, we've been told in the fairy tales that once upon a time in a land far away. Yeah. And all these stories start like that. And like everything, we're always being taught to look outside of ourselves. Yeah. That far away is a beautiful, magical place. That far, you know, and it's always just out of reach in a land that we could never even imagine. And I believe that to be one of the greatest lies that we've ever been told. Like, we currently are living in a magical place. Like, if we looked at the entire planet, like it was, for instance, Unicorn Square, of this magical, beautiful place, then instead of thinking of something that's out of reach, all of a sudden we're like, wait a minute, we are living in a magical realm. Like, this is, if you just landed on this planet and you looked around, it is green, it's blue, ocean, every single thing about it is sublime. And instead of just working and being like, no, I have landed in that place that's far away, you know, like in that magical place, and it is here, it's the planet, like, oh my God, this is magical, and started aligning and being mindful and making choices to nurture that, I think it would be it would change the trajectory of where we're headed. And even from the fairies with the messages, when they're like, we're holding it down, like we're busy, we're holding it down, we're making it go, but we could use a little bit of help because they have so much more magic and way more beautiful things that can be added. But until, like, they can only, like everyone, you got a lot of work to do. And if they're just holding it down so that it can maintain a homeostasis, if we help them out a little bit more, cheered them on, did our part, I believe that it would shift it. So that's, yeah, it's kind of a fun, I don't know. I think if all of it is doable very quickly to shift the planet. So
Exactly.
yeah, it is. It's very,
Really, like all it takes is a willingness to look for the magic.
yeah,
Magic is everywhere,
everywhere.
including these amazing, incredible physical bodies that we live in. These
Magic.
bodies are literally magical. When you break a bone, you set it, and then the magic begins. You don't have to do a single thing for the body to heal itself. But
Yep.
we have simply been taught that these bodies aren't magic. These, you know, they're weak, they're vulnerable, there's something wrong with them. You're being attacked by diseases, you're vulnerable. Not true. None of that is even true.
Yep.
And then when we don't look for the magic within, we stop seeing it. And when we stop seeing it, we stop believing that it's there. And when we don't believe that it's there, we can't access it. And when we can't access it, we can't create it. So then we create disease by default and we go, see, that's what's real. Not real at all, people.
Yeah.
Magic is what's actually real, but we have to be willing to look at it.
Yeah. And to just have that childlike wonder for everything. Like, how did we lose that?
Yes.
You know, because it is available. It's amazing. Like every single thing is working in our favor, and we get kind of stuck in slow vibration of things that hold and suppress our own, like I think that's shifting. I believe that to be shifting, where everyone's discovering how powerful they are in themselves. And that will translate into the planet as well, which is so exciting. I think it's great. I always think about it too. If we look at everything, even ourselves, and even looking at the planet, if we look at it like a conversation with our best friend, if our best friend is in trouble, like I don't sit there and go, well, 20 years, you're done. No, there's nothing we can do, because like and all those things we hear, because it's really doom and gloom, all the stuff, especially for the planet, like super negative, where I'm like, why don't we just go and touch a leaf and say thank you so much for being here. I believe in you. You can thrive and prosper, and I will do my part to support you and do what I can. And that's a conversation that super interests me, that I thank you for allowing us to have this discussion, because I just feel like it's not something that we're hearing widely,
Exactly. Yeah. We have the opposite discussion that we're hearing widely, of that we're not okay, things are not good, all of the resources are running out.
Yeah.
These are,
and if that was your buddy, oh my God, what a terrible friend you are.
right? Exactly.
You were saying that to your friend. Yeah, you got nothing.
Yeah, it's like, these are not the conversations that are helpful in any way. They're not healthy to have. These conversations of fear and doubt and gloom and doom and destruction and devastation and disease. These are not healthy conversations in any way, shape, or form.
No.
And they don't take into account the beautiful Mother Earth that is supporting us 24/7, 365, all of the other beings that are here to support us, including the plants and the animals and the non-physical beings, the angelic realm, who's sitting around going, wonder when they're going to ask us for a little help here. We got all these tools that we can help, but If they don't ask, we can't help. So it's time for us to start looking for the magic.
Yeah, absolutely. And they are totally around, being so supportive.
Exactly.
And just, yeah, like you said, they're just because of free will. And it is an asking situation, right? Like, of everyone just being like, I believe. And same thing, I think we were chatting about this when you were in the shop the last time. Even when you think about it, there's those there's an old fashioned ish, like 80s, not old fashioned, but nowadays, I guess, Christmas movie where they were doing the believe-o-meter, right? The more people that believe in Santa Claus will allow its sleigh to fly, right? But if you, I believe that holds some weight to just everything of, and that message. And it used to be when I was a kid, Christmas was that magical, like it was that time when your beliefs elevated. And once again, just to be sensitive to everyone's faith and not to have put anything on it, but there was something in just believing in the magic, just to break it down so that I don't, to share that believe-o-meter point of everyone believing in this magic and children believing in this magic. And you could feel the vibe, like everyone was like, oh, peace on earth. Everyone's doing nice things for everyone. And it through time, because of, it's kind of gotten a little gray area, but to bring that belief back year round of just believing in the magic is amazing, and will elevate everyone's vibration and the planet's vibration. And I think that like, not just one specific time of year, but throughout the year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. What if we were living in communication with the plants, with the animals, with the beings around us? What if we actually opened up these levels of communication? Because literally plants can communicate. Bridget has a beautiful app in the store where she can put little electrodes on the plants and hear the music that the plants are creating.
Mm-hmm. And when you water it and send it love or do some Reiki, I have one of my little, let's see, I'll see if I can see my coho, my little peace lily right here. I'm always like touching its leaf. I'm like, I love you. And when you do that to the plants, the music changes.
Yeah.
So amazing. Yeah. And it's been fun. Kids come in for the plant show. They're like, what plant are we going to talk to today? And just to have that conversation with the plants has been one of my favorite new things to do, just to be like, no. And it's along those lines of the Masuro Emoto,
Yep.
the water
experiment.
crystals.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And then also I saw one with plants where it was 3 plants in a school, totally the same. They were watered the same. They had the light the same, but one plant, the kids had to say, I love you. One plant, they said nothing to. And the other plant, they said, I hate you. And the I love you plant was thriving. The one they didn't say anything to did all right, but the one that they said the I hate you to was almost dead. And I find that, and I've always wanted to do that experiment, but I can't imagine sacrificing a plant.
I know, right?
So I haven't done it. I'm like, I can't do it. I don't want to say it. But yeah. And so if you take that's on just a one plant level, but if you just take that experiment alone and added it to the planet, just that lesson there, my gosh.
Exactly. It's like, how do we feel when somebody gives us a compliment, says that we did a great job, or that we've made a difference in their life, or, oh, thanks for holding the door open for me, like little things, like it just makes us feel good.
Yeah.
But when we're judged and criticized and corrected and coerced, it doesn't feel good. And we are incubating in this atmosphere of, fear and death. What if we all just started treating each other with kindness and love and respect, and started looking for the magic in each other?
Right? It's so true. Like I see your magic. It is amazing. And also the same thing. There's kids that come in the shop and it's my most favorite thing to see everyone light up. And it's the most simple thing, like, cause it's been a tough time these last couple of years in particular. Like my crystals in the shop, kids have like carnelian, I can't keep in stock. And carnelian's one of their main uses is to relieve anxiety. And I took a lot of the labels off of the crystals just so that people could feel more what they were drawn to. And so kids were picking up a lot of carnelian, and I would just be like, oh, do you know what this one does? And they're like, no. And I go, it relieves anxiety. It helps settle you down. And they didn't put it back, which I was like, and every time I even tell that story, I'm like, whoa. I give for Clem's, Lisa, because I was like, they're children and they shouldn't have that level of anxiety. So yeah, so the crystals, I don't even know now that I said that story. I was like, oh, it's a real heartbreaker.
Yeah, as humans, we have just been, we have been bullied, we have been lied to, we have been coerced and controlled and told that if we don't look like the cover on the magazine, that we're ugly, all of these stories that we then take to heart, and we start to believe those stories instead of believing in our magic and believing in our own divinity, that we have been created in divine perfection, given everything we need to survive and thrive and live and love. If our focus isn't in that direction, we can't access that. So this is one of the great things about the holiday season, at least, it starts to bring the magic back when we decorate and we've got the lights and we've got, some special things around us, and those stories, the stories of goodwill and peace and giving, these are the things that start to bring our attention to those. Even if the story isn't a real quote unquote story, it still makes us feel a certain way, and how we feel is what we experience.
Absolutely. I always do. I when the kids are there at the bar, this is where I was going to say, and this adds into the magic. I always tell them, I go, there isn't one single thing you have to do in your life except for just be here, because you are a beacon of light. Just by you being in this space, being present in this space, you are emanating light and changing everything around. And the kids look at me and they go, what? And I go, yeah, that's how important you are. And I'm going to notice that, and I'm going to share that, and shine your light and shine it bright. And that if you do nothing else in this world but be a beacon of light, then you're doing a good job. And it's like one of my favorite things to share, because that is super powerful.
Exactly. And we are beings of light. When the scientist takes any part of the body and puts it under a high enough power microscope, all they see is light. Like literally our bodies are made of light. And like when we feel light and we feel good, we feel happy, we feel joyful, we feel excited, enthusiastic. We just shine, we beam. Like that's our natural state of being. Magic just pours forth from us. But when we're in fear and doubt and guilt, and that our light stops shining, and we become dark. And it's just, there's nothing wrong with us. There's nothing wrong with our bodies. There's nothing wrong with our lives. We've just allowed our light to be dimmed. And if we just simply turn our light back on, we start to bring back the magic, because the magic comes with the light. It's a package deal.
And same thing. If we look at this once upon a time story, that here we are in a once upon a time story. Just hearing you say this, Lisa, wouldn't it hold true to say that there would be the evil sorcerer pushing that darkness upon the people of the land.
Yeah.
Right. And
it's-
so it's everyone breaking free from that and going in, because I think about that often. I go, isn't this a kicker? Because you see all, different fairy tales, and snow and darkness covered the land until it was freed by the magic. And I was like, well, what if this is a real life fairy tale and this is wowzers, and we're waking up from the dream spell of the heaviness that's been brought upon collectively along the planet.
Yeah.
So if everyone just wakes up to their own magic within and elevates that, then holy macaroni, I think we could see some of those big shifts happening for the planet. Because I think person to person, neighbor to neighbor, no one wants war.
Nope.
I've met people all over the world from all different everything, perfectly amazing people, different belief systems, different cultures, and we've all come together for a great meal and good laughter and good times, sharing our cultures. And I believe that is the basic human nature, and we just have some of those people playing with putting us against each other.
Yeah, exactly. The stories of darkness and devastation have been told louder than the stories of magic and goodwill.
Yeah.
Because once upon a time, we were all perfect expressions of light, sharing our love and joy with everyone we meet. And so it is.
Perfect. Keith, that's
Right.
Beautiful. It is.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
That's the actual truth. We are beings of love and light. That is the ultimate truth.
It is 100%. It's so beautiful and so powerful. And I'm so happy to have this conversation, to be able to bring that back, to bring in that magic.
Exactly.
And share it.
Exactly. When I lost my magic, when I was in the deep, dark depths of darkness and depression, and I can't have money and everything is horrible, cancer, that was my reality. That was really fun. Not really. And I decided not to go the medical route because I knew that was not the problem. The problem was that my light wasn't shining. The problem was that I was deep in the dark depths of depression and despair. That was the problem. My body was not the problem. So when I took it upon myself to turn my light back on, to start clearing out all of the stories of darkness and despair, and you can't have money, and all those stories that I believed were true, because, hey, that was my reality, so it must be true. However, when I turned my light back on, I suddenly started to see there's nothing wrong with my body. My body's reflecting the fact that my light's turned off. Yeah. And once I turned my light back on, my body just healed itself. This is how it all works. It's literally magic. And when we start to see our own magic, everything turns around.
Yeah, that's amazing. It is so true, Lisa. And what an inspiration.
It's like, it's what's available to all of us. But the stories of brokenness and disease and destruction are far more loudly spoken than the stories of our magic. And we simply believe the experts that tell us the stories of disease and what's wrong with us, rather than looking inside and turning our own light back on so we can see what's right with us. Yeah. And it always has been. And this is the most beautiful thing about going to Unicorn Square. The moment you open that door, even before you open the door, it's just magical from the outside, because she's created so many beautiful little magical things all around the garden and the exterior and just all the little details. Then you open that door and you're faced with your own magic. And it's spectacular.
I love to, thank you. It's so much fun to have, it's really fun because my opening, most people, you open up your shop, you're open. But I do a lot of energy work every morning, and every night. I have my whole spiel to have this be a sanctuary space of magic with an umbrella of lights showering over it. And lately my and it's really an interesting thing. I'm trying to make my umbrella bigger so that the light goes bigger and bigger. And that has been a really, it's been a good one to just be like, no, I am that powerful. And I can share that umbrella of light so that it's a globe and it's not just over little Unicorn Square. Now it's going over the town, like, and so I keep trying to like a pizza dough,
Yep.
making my little orb of light bigger and bigger so it covers everyone more, and that's been really fun. And yeah, it's really cool to play with the energy and the light and to claim this space. And everything is its own little ceremony with intention. And even doing my holiday decorations, I added a new banner of a "We Believe in Peace." And it was wild because I actually wrote it on the fabric in chalk, because I could have painted it and be permanent, but I want to be able to go out there and continually retrace that "We believe in peace" and have that little ceremony daily to be able to keep on adding that to the fabric. And that's my little holiday practice. And it's been kind of, and the other one is "All magical creatures are welcome here," including you, Lisa, because you're a magical creature. It's so fun. But yeah, it's got this really cool homeostasis. Like, I don't know. It's like, I don't know. And I don't want to say homeostasis, but it's got such a cool vibe. I even have like a skunk under the shop who is my night watchman. And it's really fun. That's my security system. He walks the beat. It's kind of cool. And behind the garden, there's a little family of foxes. And it's really fun because I've always held this thing where I'm like, I don't want to interfere with what they're doing. And it's not safe for them to get used to people from a safety standpoint for their lives. And so I was like, whenever they need help, I'm available. And I just put that out there, right? You can come to me if you're in a pickle, I'll help you out, but I'm not going to search you out to have some fox whisperer action, but this summer when it was so hot, it was so awesome because she passes by about 2:00 every day from my door where I'm sewing, right in front of my garden. In the summer when it was really hot, it came out, it started yelping at my door. And I was just like, oh, you're calling me into action. All right, I got you. Put some water outside for it. Yeah, it was really fun. And then I haven't seen it again, like close since, but I was just like, all right, you got my message. Perfect. Yeah. It was kind of cool.
You literally communicate in between species.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's all I put out there. I was like, I don't want to interfere, but if you need help, I'm here. And sure enough, and it was panting and yelping. I put water out, it drank some water, and then we're good. Yeah, it was so awesome. I was like, my job here is done. And then I sat there like every day. I'm like, this is the best job ever. I'm so magical, and I'm so appreciative that this can be my life to share this magic and assist people with their own magic. It's perfect. There's no other way I'd want to spend my days.
Exactly. It is truly magical. So anybody who ventures through Wilmington, New York, make sure you stop in Unicorn Square and say hi to Bridget and get yourself a dose of magic right from the get-go. As you walk in the door, you can feel it. It's palpable. This energy, it's so light, it's so clear, it's so cohesive and coherent. And it's just beautiful.
Yeah. And I always say the energy is free.
Right.
Because when I lived on Maui, people would come up to my table, because I started doing this on Maui. People would come up to my table and they're like, can you put a donation bucket out so I can just come in here and soak up the energy? And I was like, the energy is free. And I let everyone know. I'm like, anytime you're feeling blue and you just need some energy, pop over. I'm happy to share happy, good energy with everyone. It's awesome.
Right. I love this because There's literally no end to the energy that's available. It is
Yeah.
a perpetual flow of great energy that's
Yeah.
available to all of us 24/7.
Yeah.
If Bridget can create this amazing magical space in her shop, we all have the ability to create amazing magical spaces in our homes, in our
Oh, yeah.
cars, in our communities, in our workplaces. You know, it
Yeah.
doesn't take a lot, but it
No.
just takes some focus and a willingness to look for the magic and then amplify it.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and to claim it and say, and once again, instead of thinking outside of ourselves and looking outside for those sanctuary spaces and buildings and places that we've been told are the peaceful, ways to connect, you can do it in your own home. And it's you claiming that space and say, no, I choose this as my personal sanctuary space. And putting that intention and taking some time, and it's so much fun. It's one of my favorite things to do, because it's amazing how you can really own that and shift the energy of your space. It's awesome.
Exactly.
Yep. Yep.
We can shift the energy on command.
Yeah.
We can move from peaceful to enthusiastic, just like that,
Yep.
just by a shift of attention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We can shift from anxious to peaceful
Yep.
in a breath.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's so much fun. It's a good time. It's my favorite hobby.
Right? We've just never been taught that,
Yeah.
we've all been taught that if it's not physical, that it's not real. So we're taught to just ignore all the energy. And energy is what we create with. We're using energy 24/7 to create our reality.
Yeah.
And if we're using the energy of fear and doubt and worry, the reality that we get isn't particularly pleasant. But when
Mm-hmm.
we start using the energies of magic and miracles and possibilities and excitement and enthusiasm, we get a totally different result, which is super, super fun.
Yeah, it is. It's so true. And you call it in, and yeah, and it's just a really fun, like right now I'm working on my unicorn healing room, which it's a work in progress, but I'm loving the energy of that to bring in the unicorn light. And yeah, and to create that intention to bring all of that into your home, whomever you want to work with. But to date, most people are like, how do I get rid of, I think I might have a ghost in my house. How do I get rid of, but if you are looking at that, why don't you, we should all collectively be looking into how can I bring in more light?
Exactly. Keith is asking the question, how can we get answers from fairies, angels, and beings of light?
Oh, well, it's really fun. I have Merlinite, which is my fairy stone that I work with when I want to get some messages with the fairies. I always like to, and I use selenite to get in touch with my unicorns. But the key, I always like, and up here, it's interesting because we're in the colder winter months, but sitting in nature and just, like my unicorn horns, just holding that with the intention of communicating with the unicorns in nature. It's a really beautiful meditation practice and to receive the messages. And then same thing goes with the fairies. And I usually will hold a plant to connect. So I believe anything in nature will help you connect to nature's realm. And it's really fun, and they have so much to say. I made the mistake when I first received my Merlinite, because it does connect you to the fairies and the unseen elementals. But I slept with it, worst night's sleep of my life, because I was like, I'm gonna dream of fairies and it's gonna be awesome. And they had so much to say, and it was chatter all night long, and it was like a million, like the sounds of like mosquitoes. So much I couldn't even just, it was like Grand Central Station for chatter. Like they're chatterboxes. They've got a lot to say, and mostly they just would like for everyone to just stop, be in nature, be with yourself, and open yourself up to receive messages from them. Because once you do that, and not to second guess it, because it can be as simple as saying, could you just be more mindful and pick up some rubbish if you see it in a safe manner. I always like to do that because, and it could be as simple as stop using poison in the ground when you're doing your lawn care, what have you. So if you get a message like that, there's something that you normally, like those are messages from the fairies. And so that's how I do it, Keith. And it's fun. They're chatterboxes. They got a lot of things happening. It's really fun. And they're pranksters and tricksters, and they have a good time. They love to have a good time, but they're very practical. Like one of mine is, I get a lot with the fairy houses, and I've been doing a lot of reflection on where I'm at with the fairy houses, because I know they're very popular. And my messages from my fairies are that, because they are very practical, they're like, we can make our own doors. We're good. And it's not any, like they love having people believe, and it's not anything to be disrespectful to anyone, but they're just like, no, really, we just need a hand, like go be in a garden, help us out. Like that's really, and so I always like to try to, like, there is fun ways you can add magic into your gardens in the summer. They love bubbles, throw out a couple pieces of chocolate. They're big fans of chocolate, but mostly it's like, no, just make a garden, put a tomato in a pot. Like it doesn't have to be this elaborate thing, but just like help us nurture the earth and be more mindful. And then they're like, sweet, we're psyched. And I think my fairies talk to me like that. It's really fun. They're a hoot. Yeah. I was like, really? These are the fairy messages? I thought they'd be more like Eric, but they're like, no, we're not. We got a lot of things to do.
I love it.
It's fun. So yeah, my practical fairies, but yeah, just sitting quietly with that intention and opening yourself up to receive information. They've got a lot to say.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that word quietly is really the key, because if our mind is busy and we're in our own mind chatter, we can't hear the messages, because like it has to come in over the phone, over the lines of communication. And if we're blocking the lines of communication with all kinds of thoughts that we're preoccupied with, we're never going to hear the messages.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like, who is it that there's that Lucas Nelson? I heard him play on Maui once, and it's one of my favorite songs. And he goes, turn off the news and build a garden. It's one of my favorite things ever, because it quiets the mind. You're in your garden, and that in itself is its own meditation. So it's really, it's super special. And my mom always had me start an herb garden when I was a kid. And to this day, it's one of my most favorite memories of being a kid, was to have my own little herb garden. So it was cool. So I would encourage that.
Nice. Brenda says, I have a hard time listening. There's also, if we have the perception that we have a hard time listening, then it'll be a hard time listening. But if you set your intention to listen, and then you just simply quiet and focus on your breath. If you focus and watch the breath come in and move through your body, after a little while, by focusing on your breath, it starts to quiet the mind, because the mind can't focus on two things at once. So if you're focusing on the energy, or focusing on connecting to Mother Earth, or focusing on connecting to a plant, and you actually focus on that instead of on your thoughts, then you learn to quiet your mind.
Yeah. And I think too, it's that same thing of because I'm with my unicorn horn for meditation for the kiddos. I always like at the beginning of it is to sit in nature, hold it in your hand, close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths and then listen. And sometimes the messages, it may not be immediately into your mind, but just by sitting there, part of their message can come in from the sun shining on your face or from the wind blowing from the other direction. And so just having that and allowing yourself just that moment of peace, and that in itself could be the message from the fairies. And that could be the gift from the fairies, for that matter, of just having this moment. And I find that even with meditation, so many people feel that it's an hour long. I don't have 10 minutes. I don't, and for whatever reason, that's been something I think a lot of us had, because I know when I started my practice, that was some things that were in my mind saying, I've got a lot of, but a moment in itself is its own meditation. So I always like to just be like, no, let's all just give ourselves a break. It's just taking that moment, and as you allow that, more messages can come through, but not being stressed out about not being able to be like, because there's nothing better than just having the sun beam, especially, because sometimes even in the winter, to sit at a window and just have that sun come in, and it's glorious. So yeah, it's really nice. So I always like to just like calm it down a little and just take a moment. It can be that easy.
Exactly. There's so much magic everywhere. Sunlight is magic. The winds touching your face can be magic.
Yeah.
But we have to
and
know.
even the sparkles. Yeah. I've been loving the sparkles. I've always loved the sparkles, whether it's in the snow or in the water. Mm-hmm. But a lot of teachers I have, and it does make a lot of sense, that just taking a moment and focusing on those sparkles, whether it's in the new fallen snow or when you're by the water in the summer, there's messages in those sparkles.
Yep. Messages everywhere, for sure.
Yep.
What are some of the ways that you bring magic into Unicorn Square? What are the things that you've got that create that ambiance of magic?
As far as at the shop or what I do in the it's a combination.
Yeah. Do you want to show people what you've got?
Oh yeah. Do you want me to can I do a little walking tour then, Lisa?
Absolutely.
Should I? All right. You're so amazing. All right, here we go. I'm in the midst of I'm making fairies. I'll show you. I make them to order because they take me forever, but I'm back on my fairy kick, which is so fun. My great grandmother started this fairy. And so this was the first thing that I started, were these little fairies. And so I copied my great grandmother's pattern, and I fill them with crystals. So their hearts are filled with different crystals based on different intentions, and some lavender. So I send a lot out, and a lot of times they're just customized based on what support folks need. And so that's been really fun. And I'm back on my fairy kick. And then this is my new, it's really magical. I'll show you. I took so many pictures of this guy last night. Wait, let me see. Okay, I'm flipping it. Okay, so this is my magical orchid tree. Wow. And so I have some new spikes coming in for the winter, which is blowing my mind for some flowers. This guy bloomed last night, which is such a gift. Ooh. So I spent a lot of time last night with that. So this is my healing unicorn room that's in progress, and adding a lot of my green trees. And so then in my water, I always pray for my water, and I have the geometric water glasses. So I have the crystal bar, which is really fun. And that's been awesome. And new, because I've been loving the plants. I'm moving into the plant zone, Lisa. The misters, where you can add chipped stones to them. Beautiful. And then that energizes the water. For feeding. Yeah, it's been really, the plants love it. And then some happy affirmations for your plants too. I love it. I believe in you. It's so fun. And then these are the little unicorn horns I was talking about, that I use for my unicorn meditations. And then some old-fashioned felt items, because I like the old-fashioned childhood
Yeah.
ideas. And then my rainbow water in a world of juice boxes. I love this rainbow water to encourage more drinking of water, and it looks like magic. And so that's really fun for the kiddos and grown-ups. And so we have that. And then I'll show you my favorite part. When you walk in the shop, and the giggles from here are awesome. Right. Behind this magic curtain, you will see the most magical, beautiful, and amazing creature in all of Unicorn Square. And it's you. I love that part. It makes me smile all the time. And
that
so
was
then
my introduction to Unicorn Square. It was just magical.
Isn't it so great? And then I have a lot of, like, this room is turned into my apothecary of just showcasing natural herbs and gifts from nature, that can assist us to maintain our health throughout the year. It's really fun. And so there's a local herbalist, Ellery Warrior Remedies, who hails from Wales. So she's got some fairy magic too. And that's been really fun. And then some fun smudging items. And then more plants. I have plants everywhere. And so that's been really great. And then I have your book, Lisa. How exciting. Woo! And then I have Keith's. I have to, aloha, Keith. I have to call you because I only have one book left. So expect a call.
That's your angel corner. Look at all the angels.
Zone. I did a specific angel zone and it was awesome. So it's angels and Lisa's healing and gnomes. Angel. It's kind of fun, tis the season. But
there we are together in Unicorn Square, Keith.
Right? Isn't that so perfect? And then back here, I bring in a lot of my favorite things from Hawaii because like Pohala, it's esoteric Hawaiian fern medicine. And so that's so magical and really beautiful. And I love how he communicates with the ferns, Keone, and then some other of my favorite things from Hawaii. And then, and then I have my little magical workshop area, but that's a fun little tour. I'll show you and this is how much nature talks. So according to Keone, every fern species is his family's teachings. Every fern species represents a different human emotion. And this fern right here is Pa'iwa Iwa, which is one of my favorites. And it's the fern of divine truth. And it's and when I was chatting with Keone about this, I go, it's a very fragile fern. And it was very profound. He goes, and couldn't that be said for truth? Mm-hmm. And I love that story. So that's am I speaking my truth-o-meter? It's always fun. Whenever it starts to not be thriving, I do a little recheck. Okay, let me recheck. Let me see where I'm at. But all of them are like that. And it just really beautiful. The messages from all plants. So that is always in alignment with me too. So yeah, kind of fun.
Yes. And next weekend, you and I are going to do a class about bringing in the magic.
Yes, I'm very much looking forward to this, Lisa. I think it'll be awesome. And it's at, wait a minute, I have it on my board. Let me look. Let's see.
I think we've got
here we are. Creating the Magic of the Season with Lisa Warner at 3 p.m. next Saturday.
Yes.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah, so anybody who is in town, come to Unicorn Square in Wilmington, New York next Saturday. And we will have some fun. We will create some magic and show you how to bring the magic back into your life.
Yeah. Oh, here, and I'll show you this. Here's the little fox. That's my dad draws. So there's that's the photo of my little buddy, the fox, just to tie that in there.
Oh, that's so cool.
Oh, it's so fun. But Lisa, this is so great. And thank you so much.
Hey, you're so welcome. Thank you, Bridget. It's just always a pleasure to talk to you. One of my favorite times of the day when I get to talk to Bridget.
Oh, same here. I'm always excited. I'm like, oh, hooray. This is awesome. Yeah, it's great. It's great to share the magic. It's so, I'm so, it just means so much to be able to have these conversations and to have these conversations in an atmosphere of, and this is where a big shift is happening, where no, I'm not crazy.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
So it's really fun. It's really fun that that shift is happening where we can have these conversations readily and share this interesting information. So I'm so appreciative of that.
Me too. I mean, this is really our natural state of being. Magic and miracles is what's actually natural for all of us. We've been living in a very unnatural state for quite a long time here on this planet. So it's time to reclaim the magic and miracles and
Yes,
all good things that are available. Peace on earth, goodwill to all beings.
I 100% echo that sentiment.
Bridget,
Fun.
thank you so much for being my guest today and helping us to bring back the magic.
Thank you, Lisa. You're amazing. And thank you for all your inspiring, beautiful work. I love sharing everything that you have to offer. Your book is amazing. And I know so many folks who've been in the shop have been so grateful to have to learn from you. So it's great.
Thank you. So anybody who's looking to find you in Unicorn Square, how do they do that?
I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Unicorn Square. I have a website, unicornsquare.com. And I think that's it. That's it. Yes.
Perfect. So look
And
for
the shop is open Wednesdays through Sundays, 10 to 6 too. So
awesome.
yeah.
Yes. And anybody that's coming through Wilmington, New York, please stop in and see this incredibly magical space. You will not regret it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So we'll see you all next Saturday at Unicorn Square, 3 p.m. Eastern. Come play with us if you're in the area. And Bridget, I'm sure this will not be our last conversation on Soulution Sunday. I hope you'll come back and play with us again sometime.
Absolutely. You got it. You're amazing. And I'm so honored to be here. Thank you so much, Lisa.
All right. Thank you so much,
Okay.
Bridget.
Thank
Everybody
you.
have a great week. Until next week, create for yourselves a great week. Bye.
Have a wonderful